Hi, my name is Macy Foster, and in this video, I'll share my research on the graphic novel creation process. I had the great opportunity to interview Andy Runton, who is the creator of the Owly graphic novel series. His graphic novel follows a cute little owl and his friends. I'm inspired by his books, and I love that the stories provide a positive message that can be enjoyed by readers of all ages. I'll share some clips from this interview and I'll summarize my research through a comic I created called Maci Mouse Makes a Graphic Novel. Follow along as Maci Mouse learns how to write, illustrate, and publish her graphic novel. There are two important aspects for her to consider: the business side and the creative side. Let's start with the fun part first, the creative process. Maci Mouse brainstorms the story. This can take some time, but it's worth it when that great idea arrives. Now that we've decided on the story, what now? There are many things to consider: audience, genre, theme. It's important to consider your audience and their interest when creating your story. Most of the industry divides graphic novels into 3 age groups: middle grades, ages 8 to 12, young adults, ages 12 to 18, and adults, 18 plus. It's important to determine the genre of the story. Is the story fiction or nonfiction? Will it be a love story or a true crime? The theme is basically the point of the story. Why are we telling the story? The next step is to write the script. There are many different ways to write the script, no set way, but it is helpful to think about it as a screenplay. Scripts can even be drawn, which is called a layout script. A storyboard can be used to plan out the comic. Here you could break down the script and analyze what will be on each panel and page. Then you could search for resources and inspiration for your illustrations. Here's a sheet of my storyboard for this Maci Mouse comic. It can seem overwhelming, but adding visuals can help. I asked Andy how he tackles this process and if he had any time-saving tips, and here's his response.
What I like to do is I like to break it up into pieces. You know what I mean? So I'm breaking it up into little tiny pieces, and then, but not too big, but not too small. So if you are, it depends on the day, right? But you say like, I got to get through this page or whatever, because the whole thing is it's one big piece. And so in an effort to do that, I try to, and this is where the computer comes in, I will have like 20 pages at a time I will work on and inking little bits and pieces across the whole thing to keep me interested in it. So sometimes that works. Sometimes I have to just go page at a time and not worry about it.
Great characters help make a great story. Here are some of Andy's character illustrations. Characters do not have to be human, but they should have aspects of humanity that readers can relate to. Owly's stories involve friendship, and you can view that through these illustrations. Owly also has a unique way of communicating with symbols. I asked Andy if he had any advice on balancing text, symbols, and illustrations in a book, and he said,
What I found is that I don't put any text in unless I need it, and I really try to keep it at a minimum, just using as little, and that's something they say in screenwriting or something like that. They're like, show the characters, don't have them say, hey, I'm a good guy or whatever. It's like you need to see your visuals are saying so much more than any amount of text does, and I think the whole thing is about clarity. It's all about is you want the narration and everything to feed the overall story so that somebody really gets it.
when creating the graphic novel, you must think about what's going on in each panel. The goal of the panel is to engage the reader and connect them with the character's experience. Here I've explored different ways to frame the panels. In the first panel, you see a long shot, which helps establish where the scene is taking place. Below that, you'll see a medium shot, which shows the relationship between the character and their setting. On the right, you'll see a close-up shot, which can be used to emphasize a character's emotion. Now it's time to take a look at the business side. How do I get published? Asked Maci Mouse. One way is to create a pitch and get it into the hands of the publisher. The pitch should contain a cover image to draw readers in, an introductory page that includes an elevator pitch for the story, a brief synopsis, character sheets to describe the major characters, sample art, and an author bio with contact information. It's important to have the publishers buy the filling of the book. Use the pitch to sell the story and get others to believe in it. This is not the only way to get a publisher. I asked Andy how he first got his book published, and he said,
The best thing you can do is draw a 4-page story, just 4 pages. And if you can show that to somebody, they can see that you can tell a story. It needs to be a complete story in 4 pages. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to try to do that. And it's a lot harder than you think it is, you know? And I looked at the schedule that Top Shelf had, and they were going to be at a show in Orlando. And I'm going to approach them and show them my work. And I was still really nervous. And so I had like a portfolio of all this kind of comic stuff. And then at the end, I had the 4 pages of my little Owly story. And that's what it was, my first little Owly story. And I said, I just wanted to get some feedback on this. I had no idea how it worked. Basically, if they like your stuff, they'll publish it. And he said, this front stuff is okay, but this little story in the back, which is the thing I had just done, he was like, this is really, really special. You should do more of this. And I was like, oh, okay.
through this research, Maci Mouse has learned so much about creating a graphic novel. She is thrilled to have made a deal with a publisher. Thank you for following along with this presentation. I want to give a special thanks to Andy for taking the time out of his busy schedule to speak with me. So here's some final advice from him about going for that graphic novel goal.
If you're into it, then you just go for it because there's room. I mean, and once you draw a graphic novel, that's it. I think that's the other thing is that there's no line between pro and amateur. It's like, have you made it? Have you drawn the work? Doesn't even have to have been published. Have you drawn it? You're in.